So I was watching YouTube another day and come across two unrelated channels, one with Pokemon challenges and another with old game console restorations. I then thought to myself, man, I should try this Pokemon game everyone is talking about. Can I do it on original hardware too? This should be fun. And here I am with these two Game Boys DMG01 and some games. One I want to keep as close as possible to the original state, to see how it was to play on it back in the days. And second one will be modded. I filmed the whole process in case I will have troubles assembling everything back, but also to share with whoever can be interested in doing the same. The right one will be modded. You can see this black ring on the screen. Common name for this problem seems to be screen cancer. Unfortunately, there is no guaranteed fix for that. It also has one side yellowed. I'll try to return color back to the light gray. And screen protector is falling off. It can be replaced with new one made from glass. Sometimes, rarely, it doesn't turn on, but that's just dirt on power switch. Another problem, no sound. I will return it back, and other than that, fully functional unit. The one in better shape I want to preserve as much as possible, including all labels. The only real problem it has is bent battery cover, and some inconsistent vertical lines. They can be easily removed. Regarding accessories, the only thing I have is this chunky rechargeable battery pack. Not much can be done with it, except changing batteries. Apparently, retro gaming is a market nowadays. We can have all sorts of spare parts and mods. Parts are sold all over the internet. Things like cases, buttons, battery covers, screen protectors, and slightly advanced stuff that requires soldering, like speakers or battery contacts. I've bought a bunch of cheap parts from AliExpress, but ended up using almost none of them. Capacitors I got from my local store, but could have bought them online too. Screen replacement I initially intended to buy from an official website, if there is any, but the one I found could not ship to my place, so I ordered it from AliExpress again. This board I got looked exactly the same as it is displayed on Handheld Legends website, as an example. I have no way of telling which one is genuine. Was it a Chinese product all the time? Quick note on instruments, nothing fancy, soldering iron and accessories. I've ordered this cheap soldering station, set of small size screwdrivers, gambit bits for cartridges, and tri-point or tri-wing screwdriver I got as a set with screen mod. First step, disassembly. There's really nothing hard about it. 4 screws in the back and 2 in the battery compartment. Grab the connector with your bare hands and pull it. Back half of the Game Boy has processor board, held by another 4 screws. Headphones board with 2 screws and power board that just hangs around. 4 screws for cartridge slot cover, plus 3 battery terminals that require bending little cutout areas on them. Front half with the screen has 10 screws. If I had to speculate why so many, I would say it is because you're pressing buttons against this board, so it has to hold tight. Board has to be ripped off from the case. There is a glue covered gasket between case and the screen. It prevents dust from getting in. I save the original screen cover and carefully remove anti-dust strip. As I've mentioned, both consoles are in working condition and internal components look nice. I filmed them for the future reference for myself and in case I forget or break anything. Power supply doesn't have much going on inside. Batteries and transformer both held by patches of double-sided tape. Cartridges have only 1 screw each. Check out this fake one first. This is the only one that doesn't work. And after discovering that it is fake, I would not bother restoring it. You see this glassy window in the center? That's what rewritable memory look like. Final Fantasy cartridge has broken pin, I'll glue it back later. In others there is some dirt inside, but nothing criminal. Oh, and by the way, everything I have smells terrible. I hope I can wash the smell away somehow. Before washing cases I want to remove labels. I don't like the idea of submerging paper labels in the water, let alone scrubbing them with a brush. We'll do that with a heat gun. It is possible to do same with isopropyl alcohol, but I have seen videos where labels have discolorations caused by alcohol. Heat is dangerous too. If temperature is too high or applied too closely, it can warp plastic film of labels. I've tried as I can to do everything carefully, but there was an incident with Pokemon label. I damaged one corner and tore off another. Considering that this will not be a collectible item, I guess I have to accept all failures that have happened, or will happen from now on. Now, The hard part of disassembly turned out to be removing old glue. Every video I saw was suggesting using alcohol for the job, and it does kind of work, only very slowly. Fortunately, thanks IKEA, I have a can of label removal spray. It worked like a charm. Applied it generously, scrubbed with cotton pad, and removed leftovers with alcohol. You might have already heard about retrobright. This is a way to remove yellowing from old computer plastic parts. I had to work with somewhat limited setup and my results are okay, not perfect. I will use box wrapped with baking aluminum foil. It's supposed to reflect light. Cartridge covers I glued to the bottom of the box with blue tack. Console shell parts I weighed down with some heavy bolts. I managed to get oxygen peroxide of 30% strength. It was swimming pool cleaning solution. Had to dilute it down a little. On many other videos UV light strips are used. I couldn't find them sold anywhere and had to use single bulb. These bulbs are used as UV light supplements for plants. There is another enhancing additions like hot water or oxygen laundry booster. I will try them next time. Cartridges stayed in the bath for too long. I checked them frequently, but they seemed too yellowy and ended up with washed colors on some edges. Main body of the Game Boy that I'll keep original was only slightly yellowed. I kept it in the solution for exactly 1 day and it has become pretty clean, I would say. Second Game Boy body with heavy yellowing on one side I, again, kept for too long. But I just couldn't let colors to be different on sides. Call this an experiment, but body become of even, although slightly washed color. It can be clearly seen on this Game Boy print. To be able to test things as I work on them, I will perform maintenance on cartridges first. I have glued back Pokémon label, it has paper base so I use paper glue for that. And the result is not ideal again, but it will do. With little piece of blue tack I attached label to the toothpick, sprayed it very lightly with 3M spray glue, attached it to the shell and removed excess glue with alcohol. And remember that fake Mario cartridge? I glued its label the same way and tried to remove it. To check the glue. The bond is strong, maybe even stronger than the original one. There is cartridges with and without batteries. The one without need a wash to remove dirt, dust and odor. I scrap contacts with soft pencil eraser and clean them after with alcohol. Don't use anything abrasive though, like polishing paste. It removes plating, exposing internal contact material to elements. Cartridges with battery need that battery changed. There is two options, soldering in new battery or soldering in a battery socket. It's unlikely for me to ever replay any of these games, so I thought about removing batteries after playing. I remove old battery first, then clean parts for the slot and solder it. I haven't soldered anything in years, have to basically relearn how to do it. And I don't like the soldering station right from the start. The point of the iron is wobbly for some reason, with both bolts tightened to the maximum. Have to hold it for quite some time for solder to start melting. Anyway, I remove flux with alcohol, clean contacts, insert battery and assembly. Same procedure goes for all remaining cartridges. For the Final Fantasy I glue broken pin in place with special plastic cement. This particular cement is used in modeling. Super glue will also work, I just happen to have this cement. And it's supposed to work better because it melts plastic, making stronger bond. More soldering coming next for the full screen recap part. On older consoles, it's very common for electrolytic capacitors to malfunction. They start to leak and cause corrosion, so it's quite common practice to change them. Some people change only ones that are already dead, but I will replace them all. Capacitors are cheap and it's free soldering practice. On screen board there is two groups of capacitors. One group that is easy to replace and one that is hard. Hard because their PCB holes are below screen matrix connector. For people who are not confident enough, it is recommended to just cut capacitors from the opposite side and solder new ones to the remaining legs. I am not very confident in myself, but will do replacement the hard way anyway. After removing metallic clamp and two small screws, I apply generous amount of flux, some amount of fresh solder and carefully lift connector off the board. I bend it a little and fix with tape so it won't stay in the way. There is 5 caps under the screen connector. Replacing them now is still not easy, but doable. Have to be careful not to melt this white screen holder. solder connector back, I first put back metallic clamp, then straighten loose traces and solder everything in place. To my surprise, screen still works after the operation, and I can continue replacing other, much more accessible caps. Vertical lines, one of the most common malfunctions on Game Boy, could be fixed easily. First, adjust contrast wheel to see all black screen, remove rubber stripe and remaining glue. Then with soldering iron, without much pressure, apply heat to the place where rubber stripe was. Lines will disappear and return back, but eventually there should be uniform black screen. I have found that going over already working area is not that bad of an idea. Some connections could be weak and white lines could reappear later, and I see no effect of the iron on the connector material itself. It must have thermal resistance of a PCB. I glue rubber stripe back with spray glue. Capacitors on main board are all on the surface. I just replace them all. There is 6 caps on processor board, 2 on the audio jack board and 1 on the power board. Absent sound is another one of common problems, and since it is common, it is also easily fixable. If sound plays in headphones, but not through the speaker, then there is high chance that audio jack contacts are rusted or oxidized. There is one very barbaric, in my opinion, way to fix this. One can scratch insides of the jack with something thin and sharp. I will try to do the fix hard way and disassemble the jack. First, desoldering and removing all remaining solder from legs. Then, with the help of flat screwdriver, I remove metal parts one by one. I have tried to remove oxidation with isopropyl alcohol first, but that did nothing. Then I tried to gently polish contacts with polishing paste and got them clean. This is the part that lose contact and that you need to clean or scrub to return sound back. While I was soldering back audio jack, two nice things happened. First, speaker wires snapped and speaker fell off, and second, one of the audio board wires snapped. I haven't seen anyone with this particular problem, but I guess you might want to check wires too if you want to do full maintenance or have sound problems. Last one of the common potential issues has to be group of power problems. Power switch can get dirty or oxidized. I haven't found any videos with full disassembly, only people spraying alcohol and removing wet dirt after. I want to see what's inside though. Desoldering, prying switch open and see what appears to be same material as in the audio jack. So I polish it the same way, it's nice and shiny now and I can be certain that I won't be having problems with it in the future. Second part of the problems is corroded battery terminals. Everyone have them, including myself. I saw people trying to remove corrosion with alcohol without much effect and sandpapering them to the bare metal. There is another method that I really like. It requires first stripping plating that terminals have, along with any corrosion, and then nickel plating them back. I was intended to do exactly that, but I couldn't find any nickel. It was either sold in very small quantities, nickel strips or wires are used for welding, or I have to buy a freight container from a factory. I ended up finding another chemical called Trilon B that will remove corrosion only. I soak terminals in it for a time recommended by the instruction and corrosion is gone. When and if I find some nickel, I can return and replace those terminals. While I'll have my soldering iron hot, I may as well prepare a replacement screen. Preparation is trivial, only speaker needs to be taken from old board and soldered to the new one. There is 2 optional wires for AV output, they are both red color and one needs to be marked, so I know which one is which when assembling. I'm done with internal parts. Next up, polishing. There is scratches on all buttons, on the metallic cartridge slot cover and on the plastic screen protector. Directional buttons have texture, and this texture have to stay, no polishing for them. Metallic cartridge slot cover probably have some sort of thin plating, and since I will be unable to restore it if damaged, this part have to stay as is too. I have tried polishing screen protector, tested on the spare one. Grey paint on the underside can be removed away together with scratches, and on the front side I had very uneven results. Overall, it was a disaster. I will regard light scratches as a part of gaming experience. A and B buttons I first scrub with high grit sandpaper. Then with polishing paste I got on the local market. I have read that this paste is used to polish lenses, but I couldn't make nice finish. Maybe I need big polishing wheel for that. I have found another idea on YouTube, using polishing paste for car lights. I've applied hefty amount on cotton brush attachment for Dremel and got what I wanted. Silicone buttons need some care too. I washed them in soapy water before, and there is one more thing that can be done. By scraping carbon peels underneath against regular paper, I have now flat and clean contact surface. One part that was waiting its turn without certain future is bent battery cover. I started applying light heat, around 250 degrees Celsius, with thin attachment to have only bent place heated. It kind of worked, the base of this latch is much thicker and I got wavy structure. Cover now closes and opens much easier, almost like new one, so I call this a win. After all soldering work, there is a lot of remaining flux on boards. I will try to clean as much as I can. I first thought I will go over each flux block with Q-tip and alcohol, but quickly realized it will take too much time. Then I got old toothbrush, soaked it in alcohol and brushed whole board. This worked better, but to no surprise there were stains of alcohol flux mix. That is because alcohol dissolves but does not disintegrate flux. To remove stains I made small alcohol bath boards, brushed them again, and while board was still wet I washed it under running tap water. Then removed water from under components with canned compressed air and let all boards dry for a day. This is what I can call a clean board. No flux, old on new and no stains. By the way, I'm not finished with labels yet. I have one from the battery cover with Mario phone number. It is slightly beaten by life, but I like its appearance. Some of its corners are peeling off. I have cleaned them with alcohol, sprayed with glue from sides, rolled over the corners with toothpick and removed excess glue. Label still looks beaten, but at least it's now flat against the surface and not that unpleasant to the touch. And at last, battery pack. Inside of it there is a pack of 4 batteries. I have to google a little because I got label with specs on mine damaged. I need 4.8 volt rechargeable block of 4 AA batteries. Batteries could be soldered right to the board, but they have a connector and I've read that nickel batteries don't have very long lifespan, so if they die I want to have them changed without soldering anything. While I'm inside I also refreshed this connector and washed everything from old flux. I used double-sided tape to fix in place transformer and batteries. With all that work done, it is finally time for the assembly. For the screen half, I first apply a layer of fresh glue to the screen gasket, put it in place and glue screen board to the body. You may notice me rotating screws couple times counterclockwise. I do that to catch existing screw threads. If you start screwing right away, plastic may crumble and there will be nothing for the screw to hold on. Before putting screen protector, I remove fingerprints with alcohol, then blow away dust with canned air. And here you have it, fully functional 100% original Game Boy DMG-01. Putting together modified console done in a very similar way, except I cut some plastic according to the installation manual. First goes in screen matrix, then small board on 2 strips of double-sided tape, and big main board on top of that. 2 new screen wires I soldered to the link cable port. Connecting 2 halves of the Game Boy together, attaching conveniently covered with double-sided tape glass screen protector, and done. Isn't it showtime already? Frankly speaking, although I wanted to play on the original Game Boy, I couldn't commit myself to it fully. It is so hard to see what's going on screen in the evening, and ghosting is just awful. I have played parts of the Zelda on the original Game Boy. It is definitely was a great experience. 20 or 25 years ago I would be so happy if I got one. Pokemon game I completed on modded Game Boy. You don't even have to compare them. LCD screen is a standard type of displays today, and it does its job. I can recommend getting one of these screens if you happen to have a Game Boy. Feature of connecting Game Boy to a TV is weird. I can't imagine what I would use this for. And this monitor? I will be refurbishing it next. Stick around if you want to see me fail miserably. But wait, there is more. When I was reading about retrobright, I've stumbled upon attempts to prevent yellowing. People use different chemicals. I have found this Armorall plastic protectant in car care section. It is in a form of wipes, but with spray you'll probably do the same. Apply it on some sort of cloth and then rub onto the Game Boy shell. And story does not end here. I was unfortunate enough to make this video 2 years after it was filmed, and I can show you if solution has helped or not. A shell that was retrobrighting for too long has yellowed back almost to the same shade as it was before. Battery block preserved its original color. If I remember correctly, it was in the solution for a couple hours at most. Alright, that's it. Write in the comments what would you do better or different, and see you next time.